10 years had passed since David unleashed hell upon Planet 4, and by the time the Covenant crew arrived, he had spent a decade conducting horrific, twisted experiments. The engineers, the neomorphs, the planet's life forms, and even Elizabeth Shaw all became part of his monstrous ambition, the creation of a new alien, the Praetomorph. Artists Matt Hatton and Dane Hallett were tasked with illustrating this chilling evolution, channeling David's mind through his artwork and notes. Much of this is shown in Alien Covenant, but even more of their work can be found in the art book, David's Drawings. However, keep in mind, David had gone without maintenance for years, and his unique model was already prone to instability. So were all of his drawings actual experiments? Or are some of them the mad delusions of a synthetic gone rogue? According to Matt Hatton, David wasn't inventing the Xenomorph from scratch. He was building on the engineer's work. But here's the mystery. No murals, no artifacts, or any direct evidence of the Xenomorph has ever been found on LV-223 or on Planet 4, as I believe that the creature in the Ampule Room mural is an early concept of the Deacon and not a Xenomorph. However, Romulus later revealed that the engineer pathogen is derived from Plagiaris praepotens, the substance carried by Xenomorph facehuggers, suggesting that the engineers had, at some time in the past, encountered the alien to create their pathogen. David studied the engineers extensively through his voyage on the Juggernaut and while on Planet 4, giving him plenty of time to discover any links that they may have had to Xenomorph XX121, including possible records of the engineers' own attempts to recreate it. We don't know the exact recipe that David used in making the Praetomorph, but if we study his work, we can find many ingredients and influences that he used in its creation. In Alan Dean Foster's novelization, David actually finds a xenomorph egg in the lab, something already created by the engineers. This was absent from the film, but after Matt said that David built upon the work of the engineers, he was asked if the engineers made the ovomorph from one of the carnivorous plants on Planet 4, and that David only tweaked it so that it could hold a dormant facehugger, which was tweaked, not invented, and that the facehugger holds an alien egg, which is really Shaw's ovary, impregnated with the DNA of an engineer that has been modified or infected by the pathogen. Hatton's response was, "Yep, great guess, and I absolutely did the flora stuff intentionally, making a bridge not just between the native life and the Giger shape language, but also as a way of explaining the discrepancy between the different aesthetics that we've seen and giving an internal logic." But he also wanted to honor the ambiguity inherent in Giger's work, where you have an idea, but it's not spelled out literally. So perhaps only Shaw's genetic material was used and not her actual ovary or eggs. There are several carnivorous plants in David's notes, but he never explicitly links them to the ovomorphs that he made. Instead, he uses them to trap insects for study and to create ropes for restraining and the submission of his unfortunate test subjects. The motes in Alien Covenant are terrifyingly small, microscopic, and able to slip in between skin cells. They don't inject something into their victims like mosquitoes, and instead are able to enter the body whole. But David's sketches depict motes that resemble infected mosquitoes, creatures with a proboscis and a design like a facehugger. Perhaps the ones from the illustrations are an earlier or alternate form of the motes created in the initial wave of the pathogen bombing. Another precursor to the facehugger is the horned worm, a grotesque parasite David extracted from the reanimated corpse of an engineer. It functioned in a disturbingly similar way, finding its way into the host, much like parasitic river worms that enter the body through the urethra, the anus, or even the mouth. David's records describe it as having its own proboscis and a tail that was capable of launching it towards his mouth, reminiscent of how facehuggers lunge from their eggs. The horned worm is similar to the mutated worms found in the engineer temple on LV-223 called the hammerpede, which killed Milburn after entering through his mouth. These organisms may have provided the function of the facehugger, but its form, that came from something else. David's artwork shows strange yet familiar aquatic creatures. A massive shrimp-like creature with a long tail and multiple legs at its size, eerily close to a facehugger's anatomy, and a skeletal study of a jellyfish with an engorged head, where its body has been stripped down to reveal a familiar structure. Over time, David would experiment on and mutate these creatures, slowly refining the skeletal and muscular design, while improving the dexterity and strength of their tail, the fingers, and its proboscis. One of the more disturbing images features Elizabeth Shaw, where she is suspended by a xenomorph-like plant or creature. Its elongated head envelops hers, acting as a rebreather, not as an implantation device, as Hatton confirmed that it was based on plants exhaling oxygen, and that it was keeping her alive rather than impregnating her. Unlike traditional xenomorphs, David's Praetomorph emerged in the imp stage, a more developed small adult-like form rather than the snake-like chestburster. David had seen the chestburster stage before. His sketches show one inside of a female engineer, and it's unknown if he was unable to replicate it or if he considered the imp stage to be an improvement. Outside of the creature's various stages, we can also find many influences for the features and attributes of the alien. There were studies done on various insects and shells from the ocean that were noted for their chitinous exteriors, that may have been used in the creation of the alien's exoskeleton, with his notes stating that the development of chitinous layers needs to be prioritized. David understood that the alien could be born anywhere and may not be able to feed after its birth due to its environment, and that to improve its adaptability, he plans to integrate biomechanical features from the engineers into his alien. The carnivorous plants used an acid bath to dissolve their prey, which could hint at a source to the alien's own acid blood. And the inner jaw may be a natural outcome of the pathogen, as we see a mutated engineer head with one in the drawings. He also studied worms that eat viscera and defecate a sealing agent with a black varnish-like finish that could be an early or alternate form of hive webbing. In trying to explain the rapid growth of the alien, Matt came up with a concept called the tumor garden, thinking that tumors have the rapid growth that would be needed, or a fibrous plant tissue where you can increase the volume and size without increasing its true mass. But it wasn't included in the film or in the book. There is, however, information on the reasoning for the alien's elongated head, how it sees its surroundings, and why it's afraid of fire. The head shape allows for wide-range spectrum cranial sensing, with the extended brain pan allowing for a broad spectrum reflector reception area. The alien's vision is thermal based, so fire wouldn't just burn it, it would blind it, explaining its fear of the flames. The larger head case would also allow room for its inner jaw system that is noted to be modified for maximum acceleration and strike effectiveness. In the end, David's work led to the Praetomorph, something close to the Xenomorph, but not quite the perfect organism yet. It lacked the biomechanical features of the Xeno strain, had taller, thinner dorsal pipes, a wider stance, and a more organic, animalistic design. Its ovomorphs were larger, the imp stage replaced the chestburster, and its acid blood was not as potent, though its speed of infection was insanely fast. This wealth of David's research was transmitted to Weyland-Yutani after the Covenant mission, giving the company a path to creating or recreating their own alien strain, with David even hinting that he now intends to use Daniels to create his own queen, giving the Praetomorph its own matriarch like its xenomorph cousins. But we'll have to wait and see if Ridley picks up his story again, or if Fede or the Expanded Universe gives us another look at David and his alien. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you next time.